Okay, Honors Algebra 2. Here's a couple more proportion problems, but these will involve quadratics, as you'll see in a minute. So this says solve for x. Hint, there are two solutions, no rounding. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create our proportion based off the side splitter theorem. This is the side splitter theorem because this segment going through the triangle is parallel to the third side, breaking the other two sides into proportional segments. So our initial proportion, I'm going to make 12 over 7x equals 2x plus 2 over 5x minus 1. Okay, now I'm going to put these two binomials in parentheses because when we do our cross multiplication that we're going to do in here in a second, we're going to have to make sure we distribute into this binomial. So the 12 has to go into the 5x minus 1. That's going to equal 7x, which has to distribute into the 2x plus 2. So distribute the 12. 12 times 5x is 60x. 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. Distribute the 7x. 7x times 2x, that's 14. And x times x is x squared. And 7x times 2 is 14. And the x just comes along. Okay, and now when you have a quadratic, your goal is to put it into what's called standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, and you want one side of your equation to be 0. That's when we can start solving the quadratic. So I'm going to move the 60x and the minus 12 to the right, where the x squared is, by subtracting 60x from both sides and adding 12. Now there's nothing on the right side to combine with the 12, so I'll just put it over here. Doesn't really matter where you put it. So the 60x and the 12 cancel. There's your 0. On the right side, put it in this form, x squared, x number. So 14x squared. 14 minus 60 is negative 46x. And then the plus 12 comes down. Now, before we look to solve this, can we divide out a common factor? Well, yes, all of these numbers are even. So you can divide the 12 by 2, the 46 by 2, the 14 by 2, and you have to make sure you divide the 0 by 2. But 0 divided by 2 is still 0. And this is now 7x squared minus 23x plus 6. If you didn't do that step, it's not the end of the world, but you would have a lot bigger numbers. And now we're going to use what's called the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is this guy. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So here's what I like to do when I do the quadratic formula. I like to do the b squared minus 4ac part first. B squared minus 4ac. Now your a, b, and c are here. A, b, and c. So b is the x number. That's negative 23. Make sure I put in parentheses and square it. Minus 4 times a is 7 and c is 6. Well, I'll just use a calculator and I get 361. So that number is going to go inside the square root. So then when I fill this in, and I'll do it down here. So x equals, I just take the opposite of b. So if b is negative 23, the opposite of negative 23 is positive 23. Plus or minus the square root of 361. And the bottom is 2 times a. This is my a, so I just double it to 14. And now I'm going to take the square root of 361. I believe things will simplify nicely in this class in terms of this type of problem, and it does. The square root of 361 is 19. So now we have 23, the square root's gone, plus or minus 19 over 14. And now this is two problems. This is, let me get rid of that box real fast. There we go. This is 23 plus 19 divided by 14, and 23 minus 19 divided by 14. Well, that's 23 plus 19, that's 42, and 42 divided by 14, this is 3. And the top is 23 minus 19 is 4, and 4 divided by 14, that's where you can't round. So you get 4 over 14. 4 and 14 are both divisible by 2. That's 2/7. And here are your potential two answers, 3 and 2/7. Now I tell you that there are two answers. The one thing you must check is to make sure that none of your values are negative, right? So if you plug in 3 here, that's positive. If you plug in 3 here, that's positive. If you plug in 3 here, that's positive. If you plug in 2/7, that would be positive. So 2/7 times 2, times 2/7. And then you add 2, that'll stay positive. And then 5 times 2/7 minus 1, and that also stays positive. So I believe that both of these answers are correct, and that's what I would put here. I'll put the 2/7 first because it's smaller, and the 3 second. Now, you don't always get two answers. Sometimes you only get one answer, okay? But this was an example of the quadratic formula. And again, I would always use the quadratic formula if you have a number in front of the x squared. It's just simpler. All right, second example is coming. So here we go. So this is that 3 parallel lines idea. So it says solve for x. Again, hint, there are 2 solutions here as well. So again, not always 2 solutions, but with quadratics, the x squared means 2 possible solutions. So when I do this problem here, these are my parallel lines, go top to bottom. So we'll go x minus 1 times 2x plus 1 equals x over x plus 8. Again, I'll put my binomials in parentheses. I'll go ahead and cross multiply. So it's going to be x minus 1 times x plus 8. And it's going to be x times 2x plus 1. So now this is what we call a binomial multiplied with a binomial. So we do that thing called foiling. Foiling is just a special term for distribution. So the x goes to the x and the 8 to make x squared plus 8x. The negative 1 goes to the x and the 8 to make negative 1x or negative x minus 8. On the right-hand side, the x goes to the 2x to make 2x squared, and the x goes to the positive 1 to make positive x. So now before we start moving across the equal sign, we can clean this left side up. That's x squared plus 8 minus 1x is plus 7x minus 8. That equals 2x squared plus x. And now you need to move everything to one side to, again, create that 0. Remember, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So because the 2x squared is bigger than the 1x squared, I'm actually going to move, I know it's 3 things, but I'm going to move the left things to the right side. So I'm going to subtract x squared, subtract 7x. I'm going to add 8. Again, just add 8 over to the side. So this left side becomes 0 again. You don't always make the left side 0. I'd prefer to make the right side 0, but it just made more sense because the x squared had a greater coefficient here. 2x squared minus x squared is 1x squared. Plus x minus 7x is minus 6x. And positive 8 is just positive 8. And now you can use the quadratic formula, but notice there is no a term. It's a 1. So here's how I'm going to do this problem. This is going to factor into 2 sets of parentheses. So to get x squared, you have to multiply x times x. Okay. Now, we need to now look at these signs. If this is a positive 8, that means that these 2 signs here and here are either both positive or they're both negative. And the reason is, to multiply, you need to have 2 signs that are the same. Remember that this connection here is how you get that last term. If you think about how we just foiled this, right? The negative 1 times 8 got you negative 8. That's because one was negative, one was positive. So they have to be the same sign. So if this is plus, so if your C is positive, so a plus C means same signs. If your C is negative, that means opposite signs or different signs. So then to figure out, we look at the B. So if your C is positive, then you look at the B, and the signs will match the B. So we're going to keep the negatives. And now we need to look for the factors of 8. So the factors of 8 that will combine to get you 6. And since my signs are the same, they're going to be adding together. So I'm going to put 8 right here. So your factors of 8 are 1 and 8. Let's combine them. And because the signs are the same, it's going to be minus and minus. That's a minus 9. Well, that's not minus 6, so that's not it. Let's do the next factors of 8, 2 and 4. It's going to be a minus and minus 2 and minus 4 is minus 6. This is your golden connection. Minus 2 goes here, minus 4 goes there. So this is how you factor a quadratic. And now what you do is you take each of those and set them equal to 0. So x minus 2 equals 0. X minus 4 equals 0, and you add 2, x equals 2, and you add 4, x equals 4. And here are your 2 possible solutions. Now, again, you just check to make sure it doesn't make anything negative. Pause. If I plug in 2, That's positive, that's positive, that's positive, that's positive. If I plug in 4, that's positive, positive, positive. So you have two answers of 2 and 4. Okay. So most of the time when you get a negative answer, that's when you throw away one of the solutions. All right, so best of luck on your homework. Again, this is revisiting your Algebra 1 days. And again, if you're not comfortable with this factoring, just use the quadratic formula again. It's fine. All right, good luck. Ask questions if you have them.